Just a real quick observation this morning. Went into the UPS store to send out something, and they were dead, as is the normal when I go in there. And I'm just trying to think about where are people, what are the services that they are offering, and where are people going that's different. And I don't have that figured out yet, but I did want to kind of capture that, and I'm just becoming more and more aware of those things. I don't know how it relates exactly to the school, except in the sense of marketing, understanding where our audience is going and where their attention is probably going to be critical when we are trying to reach them, because we obviously aren't going to set up a storefront and just expect people to walk in, because people don't seem to be just walking into stores as much. They're still doing it, but that's a lot of cost in that. Okay, so I've got a conversation coming up with a kind of a new friend here in Indiana. His family is frustrated with the schooling process. They're actually at a Montessori school, which they really love, but if I remember right, it's about 50 minutes away. So they are really looking for support in starting a Sudbury slash self-directed learning academy. Um, this is a great opportunity for me to help out a family, but it's also a big responsibility, and there's a lot of weakness there, where I want to be able to help them find somebody, but my network is still growing, so I don't necessarily have the network to pull from. Um, and I thought that university learning centers, where I work in business development, I thought this could be a good opportunity for us, but I think what the person that we're looking for is, it's not going to be quite right. Um, at the college level, we need somebody probably with a little bit more experience. So thankfully, I do have some contacts at Tallgrass Sudbury School in Chicago. So I'm looking forward to reaching out to them and just seeing what we can find there. Um, in all of this process, it's not a waste, because we're building awareness of self-directed learning all the time, and so I think that's a good thing, and it stretches me to become more resourceful, and that's something I think I've struggled with over the years a lot. So yeah, that's what I'm working on this morning, and then I have a meeting with someone I met on LinkedIn. So I'm getting ready to check LinkedIn here, um, and see about her work. She lives and works here in Central Indiana, working with the Children's Bureau. So I'm excited to get to know her a little bit. We've interacted on LinkedIn a little bit, and so excited to just find out ways that I can help them. All right, I had to capture this for a moment. Reaching out to a new contact on LinkedIn. I'm not really sure if I want to be saying people's names. It just feels like a breach of privacy. I want to be respectful of their anonymity. But she asked, she said, we badly need a high school, but if we keep the classes small, do you see any issue with an elementary section and a high school in a separate area? So what I think she was asking was about, was there is there a reason, can we have them in the same building? Is that okay? And that seems totally fine to me. The Sudbury model, they do have students of different grade levels in the same area. It's a pretty small school. What I'd like to figure out is, can we scale that to a larger school? My other contact, Gino Larico, I think I do have his permission to use his name. The last school he was at was larger. I think it was about 180. So they were doing it with a much larger group than I've been aware of in the past. But here's the thing that really stuck out to me, is that age mixing is fine as long as kids understand and are in a situation where the older you are does not equal the more power you have or the more authority you have. I mean, I can't count how many times I heard when I was little that the older person gets to decide. It's kind of something that we just accept. And what we've started to call this is ageism, looking at age as an indicator of how much authority you have. And there's huge problems with that, both in terms of education and how we treat our elderly in our society. So I'm really excited to just capture that for a moment and think about how the youngest children in our school have every right to be free from even teasing and have a voice. They need a voice to be able to speak up and have some course of action that they can take to try to break those things down. This just in, found a new podcast by Pam Larachia or Larachia, I'm not really sure. It's called Unschooling or Exploring Unschooling. Find that on iTunes. I found that through her email list, so I had subscribed to her email list and found that. So I'm looking forward to checking that out and seeing how other parents unschool their kids. I think I've mentioned it before, but I actually prefer the term self-directed learning more than unschooling. I'm really not trying to make myself an enemy of public school. If public schools started to educate in a way that was like self-directed learning, I'd be all for it. It's like, to me, it doesn't have to happen in the home. In fact, there's a lot of people who can't afford to homeschool. Or maybe they live in an environment where it wouldn't be conducive. Maybe it's a small apartment and there's no green space. It's like, that's not a conducive space for unschooling or self-directed learning. They really should have access to the outside world. So if you're a school and you want to try some of these ideas, go for it. Like, I don't want to stop you at all. So that's why I like self-directed learning a little bit better. More thoughts on Gary V's Crushing It. Just some really fascinating stuff. Things coming through my mind all the time. I love that concept, and I documented this yesterday about just documenting that process. And he said something that was even a little extra insightful in this part of the book about, and I'm gonna forget how I say it, but just trying to show, like, where, instead of talking about where you are, like, instead of saying I'm an education expert and I should be trusted, going through, like, I want to be an expert. I want people to trust my ideas, and they're not just my ideas, they're ideas that are built on others. Janet Lansbury, William Glasser, the Greenberg, I think, family that founded Sudbury Valley. Magda Gerber. There are so many authors. Alfie Kohn is another one that come to mind. And so they're not my ideas, but Gary is really trying to help me understand that I can't just be the expert. I can't just interview these people and then all of a sudden I'm the expert. But I want to be that. I want to be that expert. So what am I doing right now? I guess that's a lot of what this vlog is all about, is trying to learn how to be the expert, how to learn to be influential and be trustworthy, and all those things that I think it is what it takes to be an expert. So if you have ideas on how I can be an expert, if you're watching this, comment below, and I'd love it if you joined my journey and just wanted to, and subscribed and watch some of these from time to time. Are they too long? Are they too short? Is there something that else in this process that you feel like you want to see? So yeah, that's it. So really important thing going on right now. I just emailed back to the director of the William Glasser Institute, Kim Ulver, and working on a new project with them, some added value for the members of the William Glasser Institute. And this is one of those opportunities that I think has come up specifically because I just keep showing up. I've gone to some conferences. I gave a presentation at my certification about self-evaluation. I was taking Glasser's concept of self-evaluation and applying it to toddlers. So it's taking the work of Magda Gerber and Janet Lansbury and sort of showing that there was an intersection between Glasser and that approach of Lansbury. And the people in Cert Week were just floored by it. I'm sorry, I called it Cert Week. The people at certification that were watching me were just floored by it. I hosted a little bit of a Q&A right after my talk, and it was only about a 15-minute talk, and gave them a chance to sort of give me some scenarios that they thought self-evaluation wouldn't work. And it was just fascinating. So the person who was overseeing the certification, Pat Roby, requested that I turn it into an article, which I did, and she published that in the International Journal of Choice Theory and Reality Therapy. And so then Pat Roby introduced me to Kim Ulver. So I think if I'm thinking about this, there's two parts to that. There's the network, and then something that Gary Vee said in his book today, Crushing It, was you still have to be good. You still have to know what you're talking about. And but it doesn't sort of give you, even if you know what you're talking about, that doesn't necessarily make you an expert. So it's kind of like I knew what I was talking about. I was describing something that was kind of new to them, but then it was really good, and it confirmed some things that they had known before. And so Kim has really encouraged me to write a book about this and try to establish the connection between William Glasser and parenting. And so I am working on that a little bit. It's kind of on the back burner right now because I feel like I just have some other priorities right now. So I guess that's it. I think that's all I was saying. I was just trying to say that I have this opportunity, and I've been working on this relationship, I guess, now for probably closer to a year. And so now I'm being trusted to come in as a little bit of a marketing expert, which I'm not an expert at all. There is very little I know about marketing. What I do know, I've learned pretty much through Jeremy Miller and Gary Vaynerchuk, just by reading a few things. And then trying to build my own business online and trying to build my brand. I think I'm just thinking about it deeply, and maybe more deeply than others, but definitely more deeply than the people that I'm meeting within that institute. And I really support Glasser's ideas. I thought he was a genius. When I read Choice Theory, it was the first book to me that explained to me why I made the decisions that I made as a youth, and why I make those decisions now. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. I think it could turn into something really cool, but again, I'm just looking for ways to provide value to them, and it helps me build some credibility too. Something that stuck out from my thoughts today was thinking about that idea of becoming an expert. And I think that's a good way to describe what I've wanted out of life for so long. And I think it's partially because it helps me meet my need for power. And that's not like power over others. It's more about power over me and power from within. The ability to be able to speak out and make change. One definition I found for power said that it's the ability to affect change. So if I feel powerful, it's because when I say or do something, other people change their behavior. And so I think becoming an expert it's appealing to many people. So I'm just going to be thinking a lot about that. And this is another reason that this podcast is called Day One, because, or this, it's not even a podcast, it's a vlog. This vlog is called Day One, is because I feel like I don't even know how to explain it. This vlog is called Day One because it feels like I'm starting over every day, and not in a depressing way, but just there's these new things that I'm learning. And so some friends and I were talking about their business model, and they're working on something for tax equity, and helping me understand that, like, some people have these big, windfalls that come into their lives, and they get taxed on that. And there's a way that they can invest in certain things like solar energy, and they can write off the investment for that, and so they don't get taxed on that amount of money. And so it's kind of like making money, and so some of those things are just so foreign to me. But does that mean I want to become a solar expert? No. Or a business expert? No. Accounting expert? No. But I do recognize in myself that I want to be an expert, or at least want to be important. And I think so many of us want that. And that doesn't mean that I ever need to earn money for having opinions or having influence. In a lot of ways, I guess I don't. I don't want it to be a business. But I do want to be able to sort of be validated that I'm right about something and have people change their behavior because of it. So, in case I forgot to mention or lost my train of thought in that last clip, I want to emphasize that I want to record my journey of becoming whoever it is I'm becoming. And I would like to make some predictions. I do want to be able to say, because I thought this was kind of funny how Gary Vee was talking about developing his palate before he ever became an expert on wine. And I just thought that was kind of interesting, because for him that was important. But he made it. He said if I would have known to do video, I would have recorded myself in front of these Merlots saying, in 10 years I will be able to tell you blindfolded what each one of these are. And I'm trying to think, that's inspiring. That's kind of cool. It's a little nerdy. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's one thing that you can know. But it made me really think about, well, what do I want my expertise to be? And I guess I'd love to say, I want to be able to say, in 10 years, I'll be able to tell you how to turn around a school, and I'll be able to show you how to do it. And not just turn around like, a 10% improvement in attendance, like turn around, like going the opposite direction, growing instead of shrinking, no bullying instead of tons of bullying, engagement instead of apathy. That's the kind of thing and I guess I feel like I could do that now. I could tell you how to do it, but quite honestly, I haven't seen it done. I've seen evidence that it's being done, but I haven't seen it done. So that'd be my goal, is in 10 years I'm going to be able to show you what our school looks like, and you're going to be able to see this is how you treat children in a school. Thanks, Gary. Approaching the end of the evening here. Vlog, this should be toward the end of episode 12. And thinking about, it's just on Twitter, and someone asked about what do you do to prepare your students for life. They're asking people about what do school districts do. And so I said, well, I can't speak for school districts, but I know what we do with our kids. And it sounds so simple, but it's so difficult to explain. We really just let them make choices and cope with the consequences. I mean, we're there to be with them throughout those consequences, whether it's pain or frustration. But we just let them decide. We let them decide so much about what they do throughout the day. And I think the reason we do that is based on what Magda Gerber said, which was falling and getting back up is the best preparation for life. And I can't think of any other one thing that would prepare people for life more than making a decision and dealing with the consequence of that decision.